Okay, folks, so we had a great call last night, myself and Alex, discussing different Amazon questions. There was a person on, great guy, and he was just asking us really, really good questions. I thought, you know what, throw them in here because you guys might find them valuable. So jump on in. Any questions yourself, paste them down below, write them in, we'll answer them. Nonetheless, hit subscribe and enjoy the content. I'll be honest, the dog whistles, if I remember rightly, when I first started selling them, they were £7.99 or even less, maybe even £4.99. They were really, really competitively priced. Whereas now, like they sell in the US $13.75 or something like that. So like the price of everything has gone up. But to be honest with you, I would look at a margin of maybe 20-30% generally on
Yeah.
more expensive items. But in terms of the dog whistles, I got them to a price of £7.99 the UK at one point, and I'm selling at £4 profit. So I was making basically £3.98 or something like that. So £4 profit. So that was like pretty good. But it depends too. Like some categories are more competitive, some niches are more competitive. So if you're using the likes of Amazon PPC, and you would be spending more. Generally, when I'm doing PPC, I like to spend maybe 20% as a average cost of sale, which is like 20% of the sales price I spend on PPC. That wouldn't be all my sales. That'd just be my PPC sales for that product. But as long as my PPC sales are profitable, I'm happy to do that as well all day long. But
Yeah.
what I kind of would do, Ryan, is when I'm looking for products, I will identify maybe, I have 10 options, right? Even minimum 5, right? So 5 products, I'm like, okay, these are good products. I can move forward with these. And then I look at like the costs for me to get into a product and the actual profit I'll make. And I generally estimate PPC about 20%. And then I'm saying, okay, based on that, this one gives the best return. That's the one I go for, you know?
I think another thing to point out is like when me and Peter have worked with students on this, or like even when we're looking for our own products actually for this new store, um, we'll find a ton of different products and we'll run it through this filter, which is basically a calculator we've built in a spreadsheet, and we never try and like gut feeling comes into things, but we always try and let the numbers dictate what's going on, right? So we want to get to a point where we can cherry pick products from a list, like Peter was saying. So we'll have a list of 10, 20 products, and we want to be in a position where we've got more products than money to invest into them. Okay. And then our job then is basically a game of trying to rule each product out. And a product gets automatically ruled in if it passes if it passes every single stage of our little test. So if it passes a profitability test, so like if we get pricing back from the supplier and it's good, then obviously it stays in, and so on and so forth until we get to a point where we've got a list of maybe 5 or 10 products like shortlisted, and we're like, right, which, like Peter just said, which is going to give us the best profit based on how much we can get into, how much it's going to cost us to get into the market, how much wiggle room we've got if we want to spend on Amazon PPC. Because obviously, just for example, like the dog whistles, like that's quite a good example actually. But if you're selling products that are, say, under £10, your room there for putting money towards PPC and other like advertising methods is very, very small. Whereas if we're selling products between, say, £25 and upwards, or maybe even £50, you've probably got a lot more wiggle room to spend on other advertising methods like Amazon PPC, or you can also play around with the price and things like that without it affecting your profitability too much. So, in terms of like pricing, for me, I have seen the best kind of balance between how much it costs to get into a market in terms of how much I'm investing into a product and what I'm getting back out in profit. The retail price of a product is usually between about 25 and £35, which is why I gave that example in the presentation of £25. I have sold products that are over £100. So those weight benches, I actually have brought weight benches in using private label. The only problem with selling weight benches, which I wouldn't recommend getting into, is that because they are so big and heavy and bulky, everything goes up in cost. Amazon's fees go up, your storage costs go up, and everything gets to a point where you're so tight on margin. I may as well have just sold products that were 25 to £35, and I would have made more profit, less stress, less hassle. It's just an overall no-brainer. So there is a bit of a sweet spot in picking products. In terms of my favorite category, again, I have to side with Peter on that. Automotive, we've both seen really good results from. I've sold a number of health and fitness products, which have done really well, and some really boring kitchen products, which what did I say? I think I sold a microwave wall bracket. So it's like that was one of my first products that did really well. And that was really boring, like super boring. But again, high demand, low competition, sold like hotcakes all year round.
I think it's worth also just pointing out, Alex, that you said it there, boring. So some people think like you want your products to be like something. If you're in, out socializing with friends and you say, I sell this, and you want them to laugh at you, because ultimately, if they're not laughing at you, it's probably too competitive. And that means you have a lot of competition, which means you've higher PPC, you have more, you need to do a lot more to get the sales. Whereas if an item's really boring and like, oh, I sell, this like dog whistles, like it's not going to be too competitive sometimes. And that means that, you can actually, the PPC costs are lower, less competition, you'll sell more. So it has to be boring, really, to be honest with you, Ryan.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I guess on PPC, do you guys look at how expensive it would be before you enter a market?
Well, sorry. Yeah, I do. So I don't let it dictate. I'm just talking from an advertising spend here. So if I'm considering a product, I will sometimes look at like, right, okay, what sort of money am I going to have to spend? Or if, let's say, for example, I wanted to put some money behind advertising, what sort of bidding prices are going right now for keywords? Because obviously, if you go into a market, it's super competitive. Like, I mean, there's one client that we worked with, which was in the grooming space, in the male grooming space, right? This is one of the clients that myself and Peter still work with. And just off memory, like some of the costs per click on those terms that they want to bid for are upwards of $5 a click, which is crazy, crazy competitive. But they have the budget to do so. Whereas on some of the products that we sell or like we look into, they can be way less than that. But I will take that into account and note that it won't be the dictating factor or anything, but I'll always get a rough idea of what sort of pricing is going to look like for like specific keywords and key phrases, just in case I did want to do PPC when I launched the product.
But the reality is, if a market is boring enough, the PPC is likely not going to be at those $5 rates. Like,
yeah.
And what we do as well is like our PPC is all dictated by results and data. The data doesn't lie. So if a search term is costing too much, turn it off. Find the long tail terms that are costing fraction, like pennies on the dollar. Look for them. Don't be spending the big money on clicks that just aren't performing. It has to perform. And then that's how we base our PPC on as well. Like, so you start off with an automatic campaign, basically get all these terms in, and then you start wiggling out the ones that just aren't working for you. And you're left with a nice steady campaign that's performing well at a good price.
Yep, exactly that.
Awesome. Thanks very much, guys. Appreciate that.
Not a bother. Any other questions, Ryan?
I guess in the beginning when you're launching your product, do you get sort of friends and family to buy it and kind of get you those first number of reviews in so that your product has like proof behind it?
Well, funny enough, you should say that. You see me shaking my head. One of my first products, I actually got some friends and family to buy it, and actually it was one of my products that didn't work out. No, definitely not. 100% not. It's actually against Amazon's terms of service. And the reality is, if you do your research right, and we look at the market properly, you won't need your friends and family to buy it to get sales. Like, that's the thing. Like, people are like, oh, we need to get all these people to get all these reviews to get sales. That's because they're in a way too competitive a market. We're going into markets that are not competitive. There's already demand there. We're just going to fulfill it. No, you don't need that. If we do our job right, we have a better, we've fulfilled by Amazon. We have a better listing. We have a better offer. We have nicer images, maybe a better price, maybe a bonus item. And we put that in front of people that are already buying. They're going to buy. So you don't need to actually manipulate. And the reality is, like, if your friends or family ever logged into Wi-Fi in your house, or you logged into your Amazon account on their phone, all this kind of jazz, like I've seen where Amazon has said, no, these reviews are, fraudulent or whatever, and they can be shut down. So I wouldn't recommend that.
Yeah, like I'm side with Peter on that as well. Like, from my experience, whenever I've launched a new product, it's always been organic. I mean, some products I've launched, I've actually put like maybe £5 or £10 a day behind advertising on a completely automatic campaign. So an automatic campaign is basically where Amazon goes out and picks the show your product where it thinks it will be best. And then from there, we can start narrowing down what's working and what isn't. But other than that, most of the time, I just let Amazon do its thing, put it out organically. If you've chosen the right products and you are competing with no more than 5 sellers, there shouldn't be a problem with starting to get a first trickle of sales coming in. And it's kind of like a snowball, actually, with Amazon. So, like, you might find with the first couple of weeks of selling a product, you might see sales trickling quite slowly. But then once you start getting reviews and ratings, things start going crazy. So, like, once you start getting 5, 10, 15 and above reviews of like, which will be decent if you've obviously chosen a quality supplier and product, it's just a snowball. And then the only problem that you have, like I said in the presentation, is to keep the thing in stock. So the first thing is, obviously, the first challenge you'll have is, okay, I need to find a product. And then once it's in stock, your only job is to keep that thing in stock and just keep the run rates. Once you know your run rate and how many products you're actually selling every single month, you can start looking at, like, okay, when do I need to reorder these products? When do I need to start looking at shipping these products over? Because obviously there's a bit of time between getting a product manufactured, getting it sent over, whether it's by air or sea. And this is kind of like where the logistics side it comes in, but it's fairly straightforward to do.
I think it's also worth pointing out that your first product, you generally always run out of stock.
Yeah.
You kind of want to, in a way, because that means it's sold. But like, the reality is too, like, if you do a really good job on terms of your market, like Alex said, a couple of weeks, like, I've seen products, you're talking 2, 3, 4 days, and they're starting to ramp up big time. Like, and that's with no reviews. That's just with, like, this is really good product at a really good price. Our customers want it.
Yeah.
Incredible. And just one last one, I guess. How do you guys deal with VAT when you're looking at sort of pricing and margins and things?
So if you're now, I'm not a tax person, but I can tell you from my experience, if you're based in the UK, now what we recommend is everyone to have a UK limited company. You qualify for an £85,000 VAT threshold, which means for the first £85,000 turnover, you do not have to charge VAT. So that's great for you as a beginner. Then after that point, you do need to charge VAT, but you can, it's called a half rate scheme. So basically you charge full VAT, so 20% for HMRC, but you remit to them at 7.5 or 8.5%. So it actually works out quite well. So the VAT, you're charging a higher VAT than you're remitting to HMRC. So it works out pretty good. And
gotcha. Okay, thanks.
That's built in as well to the calculator.
Fantastic. Those are all my questions. Thanks very much, guys.
Absolutely brilliant. Well, look, Ryan, thank you so much for coming on. We enjoyed answering them. If you do want to work with us, we are here. The checkout will be open for the next day or two. After that, as Alex said, next week it will be going up. But yeah, as I said, it would be great to have you in the wee group of ninjas.
Yeah, cool.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Have a good evening.
Thanks so much, Ryan. Take care. Bye bye.